I think we're live. It looks like we're live. So I wanted to do a quick intro. I asked our chairperson, Candy Solinger, if I could do that. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to tonight's meeting. As you may have noticed from my email, the city of Branson has moved to a new software. It's called prime.gov, and they're using it to manage our city council meetings. Clark, you've probably seen it as part of your planning and zoning commission meeting. So it will cause a few changes on our meeting. Mostly Candy will be asking Marcia to call the roll and do some motions and things that she'll be recording as part of the software, and the software will then generate the minutes for us. So that will be really great and a time saver. So at that time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our chairperson, Candy Solinger.
Thank you, Cindy. And I will call the meeting to order by asking Marcia to take the roll. Marcia will give the roll call, and if you will indicate by saying president, I'm sorry, not president, it's the inauguration tomorrow. Say present, and she will call the roll.
Thank you, Candy. Candy Solinger,
Present.
Jamie Whitus,
Present.
Julie Wolf,
Present.
Scott Wiest, David Parrish, Andrew Brown,
Present.
Micah Farley, Clark Harris,
Present.
Jennifer Holder, Scott McCauley.
Present.
Madam Chairperson, you have a quorum.
I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 17th Park Board meeting.
Candy, this is Scott. I will make a motion to approve the minutes as listed.
And I will second that motion.
Any discussion? Marcia, will you take the vote, please? Marcia will read each member's name and call the vote, and you may respond by saying aye.
Thank you. Andrew Brown,
Aye.
Clark Harris,
Aye.
Candy Solinger,
Aye.
Jamie Whitus.
Aye.
Motion has carried.
Cindy, now turn it over to you for the review of the park financials.
Sure, thank you, Candy. As I mentioned, the city of Branson has some new software, and if you looked at the prime.gov, or if you went to the agenda, you can see that there's an opportunity for a staff report. So I kind of noted some of those things, and I'm just going to read them off. I hope all of you had a chance to review the financials there as of November 30th, 2020. So that's 11 months out of the year, or 91%. Some things that I'd like to note is our of course, all this is viewed through the lens of COVID and different things going on, but the Recplex revenues declined $66,380, so that was 23%, while expenditures decreased $60,995, and that's 12%. So it was only an operating difference of $5,385. So we were very pleased with that. A few of these items I've mentioned before, and obviously our concession and pool season is over, but I'd like to just kind of note it. The concession revenues declined $58,000, which was 31%, while the expenditures decreased $38,272, so that was 28%. So it's an operating difference of $19,728. And the pool declined $49,000, obviously a substantial amount, $49,160, which was 42%. But the expenditures decreased $54,857, which is 38%. So that's an operating difference again of only $5,697. So we were very pleased with that. Segueing to our most popular area, the campground, so what I did was I compared last year with November with this year in November, so 2019 to 2020, So we were up 24% in revenue. And that was, and our occupancy is up 8.74% during that time. So our campground really continues to come back strong and really helps us with the decline we saw early on during the shutdown of March and April. So really pleased with that. Our tournament revenues declined 23,176, and that was largely due to the delay of our tournament starting between 6 and 8 weeks late because of COVID-19. When you compare some of our sports like the adult basketball, the adult volleyball, and the youth basketball programs to last year, they all look a little bit different. So those programs have experienced significant changes due to season dates changing due to COVID-19. So that will make it look different on the financials. I can tell you our programs are running about 80% compared to last year. So we're pretty pleased with that number of 80% so far. One of the big highlights is our park expenditures. If you go all the way to the bottom and you see the park expenditures, we're down $80,881. So that's 16% down. That was due largely because of the mowing contract. You all might recall that our Parks Department took up a lot of the slack in mowing the city this summer, and then also a decline in just purchasing. And there was an electricity credit that we were overcharged, so that played in our favor with that cost center. And then just one of the things I asked I always reach out to Stacy McAllister, our assistant director, to kind of give her opinion of our overall financials. So in total, revenues were down $550,951 and expenditures were down $376,374, resulting in a net change of $174,577. So, but when you factor in the transfer from the general fund, when you factor that in, we were down $52,784. So overall, pretty pleased about that. I know that's a lot of information, but I think I'll stop right there and just, Candy, kind of give it back to you in case there are questions of the board members.
Any board members have questions at this time on the financials? If there are no questions, Cindy, let's just move right into the 2021 tournament schedule.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen for that. See if I can get that pulled up. Here we go. And I meant to share my screen for the financials. I apologize. I hope you all, I guess I covered that pretty thoroughly. This is our 2021 tournament and special event schedule. I've been working on this. There have been changes. I probably made a change up to today, but I wanted to share it with you. We're pretty excited about this schedule. Can everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you remember, I know it's been a while since our last meeting, but I was able to provide kind of a review of 2020. So this is our upcoming schedule. So I've highlighted in blue anything new. So just last Saturday, we held our archery tournament, which is something we normally hold this time of year. But you can see coming up in March, we have a new wrestling event. That was scheduled for last year, but did not happen because of COVID. So we're certainly hoping that will happen this year. And you can see as we get it down into April, there's several new, there's a new basketball event. There's also a new girls softball event. That's courtesy of Jason Reinsch and the high school girls. They're going to bring an event here, which is new. So we're excited about that. And then you can see our normal events are starting back. Then we get into May. We start to hold more baseball and basketball events on May 23rd to 23. Our Branson Parks and Recreation Department is going to host a baseball tournament. So that will be a great fundraiser for the department. That will be led by Brian Halterman and Josh Aubin will be hosting that. So they'll be serving as the tournament directors. Then we'll segue into, so everything in black are the same types of things that we've had in the in the past. And then when we get into June, obviously we really get rolling downhill when we get into June and July. A lot of our tournaments are going on, and you can see there's a few new events, but a lot of baseball and basketball every week, every weekend. Then we really start getting into our larger events, our Girls World Series events that we've held in the past. We're planning to hold 5 of those this year. So that's one up from last year. So that will be just great, just kind of back to back. So we've got USSSA events and the Perfect Game events. So you can see we're spreading around the age groups there. And so getting through July with those events, and then things just start to slow down when school starts back in August. You can see several events that are highlighted in blue there, and some of you all probably remember Todd Mercer. He has held a lot of tournaments here for a long time. I believe he used to be the coach at Reed Spring. So he's bringing some events to us in August, and the Triple Crown that we held a few months or back in November, they're coming back again. So we're excited about the tournament schedule, and it could still continue to change, but there's a lot of interest in bringing events to Branson this year. So we're excited about that and be happy to answer any questions.
Cindy, I noticed on your schedule, you didn't list the mother-son event and the father-daughter.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this schedule is mostly meant to highlight our tournaments, not so much all of our local baseball and some of our special events. But you are correct, that was not listed on there. I can do that. Again, it's mostly meant to highlight tournaments. We are moving forward with our mother-son event, but we are not moving forward with our father-daughter event this year because of Marcia, can you remember off the top of your head how many people that had? It seemed like up to 1,000 over 3 sessions. So it's just too large of a event to be hosting.
Yeah, we had over 700 people in those 3 events last year.
So yeah, just like some of our larger events, Andrew, we had declined having them this year and going with more small events. And hopefully that will be something we bring back the following year.
Hey, Cindy, this is Scott. A quick question. As I'm looking at the schedule here, I see obviously we're stacking up a lot of stuff rescheduled with some new events. Talk a little bit about the staffing of these events, because obviously I know the schedule's always busy in the summer, but this is really going to be a pretty big undertaking, even starting in March and April with some of the events we got.
Cindy, did you get that?
I think I got it now, finally. Sorry, I'm still new to doing this. Yes, Scott, this is something we plan for and we staff for. So most of the events are brought in by outside tournament directors. So most of these events are not events that we're holding ourselves. We're holding our own programs for our local folks, our youth baseball, our youth basketball, our youth soccer. So they're not events that we have to typically do a lot of staffing. There are a few that we do. So for example, our archery tournament, that was something we held ourselves. So we planned for that, and I worked all day Saturday. I think it was 10.5 hours. And but that's not something we can do all the time because it would detract from the programs and special events that we offer for our local community. So most of our tournament things are things that we're not having to run ourselves, if that makes sense. But I highlighted when I went through it that Branson Parks and Recreation tournament in May, the baseball tournament. So that will be something we staff ourselves, because when we do that, we have the opportunity to capture all the revenue. So that might be something, whereas the other events, we're just bringing in a rental for the gymnasium or a rental for the ball fields. we're running it ourselves. So we would have to figure out kind of how to do that, and not something we can do all the time, if that makes sense, Scott.
It does, and I guess kind of to add to that, obviously they will bring in their own staff, but I know there's other costs that are involved in that, and I assume that when these organizations come in and take that, that's figured into the cost of what it costs them to put on an event in our facilities.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the pricing of our rentals of either our basketball courts or our baseball fields factors in all of our costs. So that would factor in what our staffing costs, lights, all of that. And so when we go and make adjustments to that, which we did this past year, we upped the rental, that's in consideration of that. So in all the events, we're covering all of our costs, then we're actually able to capture the concessions, which is really where we're seeing our money come in. And the tournament director is capturing the gate for that. So that's kind of how that business model works. And it's important that we make sure that we're charging enough to cover all of our costs, which we do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are there further questions on the tournament schedule? Seems like Scott's still on the line, might be holding us up.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Can
Did
you?
we lose some folks?
Yeah, I don't think you're mute, Scott.
Oh, well, I did mute a moment ago, and when you said, am I still there, I needed to answer your question, so.
Okay.
Katie, I think we can probably move on to the next item
Okay.
if you're okay with that.
Okay, that's the trails update. Cindy, and you're doing the trails update for us, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, okay, I did that right this time. So we're excited about 2021. I wish Scott Weiss was part of this meeting. He had to kind of not be able to attend the meeting at the last minute, but he was going to talk about trails. We're excited about 2021. So we've got 3 different projects in the works, and I'm sharing a kind of an image of Eiserman Park. If you all remember when we were discussing last fall our capital projects, we have received a grant for Eiserman Park partnership with the Missouri State University to create a water quality friendly walking path. And so you can see it in blue if everyone can see that. So it's a porous pave trail. So the surface of it will be kind of like recycled tires, not kind of, it is recycled tires. And this will actually utilize 3,000 locally recycled tires that would have normally gone in a landfill. So Mona Meneses with the engineering department was able to help secure this grant, and it will be in that area that you see in the blue. And DNR will pay for 100% of the porous paved trail, which is valued at about $75,000. Our responsibility, the city of Branson's responsibility, is a 40% match of costs, which is for the base rock and the grading. And then you can count some city staff time toward that as well. So we were unable to get funding for that match with the capital improvements program because none of the capital improvements were able to be funded this year. But our staff is we can't let that grant slip through our fingers. So our staff is going to take that on ourselves, and we're going to do the grading and installation of the subsurface ourselves. We may have to holler at Public Works if we need help. And so the timeline for that will be late summer or fall. So that's kind of a really exciting project. So I think I'd shared some of that with you all, but I wanted you to see that. So that's one of 3 projects that we are excited about as trails. Another one is we're going to move toward the Roark Creek Trail. We were able to pave several years ago through the Ledbetter area. And then there's another portion called the Johnson area that we call it the Johnson area. And we were not able to get funding to move forward with creating a sound surfacing, either asphalt or a concrete path, but we're going to work toward with our own staff or help from volunteers. We're going to work toward installing a, what is the name of it? A natural surface trail. So that way we can sign it and let people be using that, and that will go down to Roark Creek. So that is something we're going to be moving forward with this year and hope to do that again, probably late summer, early fall. And then lastly, I'm still working on a concept of a bike trail along the Roark Creek on the south side there behind facility maintenance. There's some land that is not being utilized, and there's a concept of a bike trail, and that's something that Scott Wiest has formed kind of a small group of people, of community leaders that are really focusing on trails. And so not just in Branson area, but throughout different counties to try to connect trails. So hopefully he'll be here next meeting and give a report on that. So a lot of exciting things going on in trails, Candy, that we'll be talking about for further months. And hopefully we'll bring a map to you all to show the connected trails, and that will hopefully happen in the future.
Thank you, Cindy. I would love to see, it's been a while since we've seen the big map with all the trails, because that's amazing. It's unbelievable how over the years that's almost connected. Cindy, I believe Brian is doing the park update. Am I correct, Brian?
Yes, I'll be doing the park update, and kind of to piggyback on what Cindy had said, we're focused on some general maintenance, which included work on a couple of the trails. At the Waterfall Trail, we cut down a few trees that had fallen across the path to kind of eliminate the safety hazard there. And we cut back some of the brush so that folks could really see which way the direction the trail goes. Because as we all know, sometimes we get some of those big rains and it isn't as easy to figure out where you're going. So the guys have been working on that. They also did some mulching at Caudell and Lakeside Forest. And I've been out at Lakeside Forest quite a bit, and the guys did a really nice job with that. And there's a few trees there that had fallen over on the path, and they removed as well. Moving on to the campground, we've fixed some water hydrants there and continue to work through those. Right now, we're trying to identify which ones need to be removed and to kind of add another nice amenity for the folks there. We were fixing some of the GFCI outlets, and probably one of the best projects the guys worked on was we trimmed back some of the brush and debris at Scotty's Dock, where you kind of couldn't see the lake in certain areas of the park. So now it's more aesthetically pleasing and it looks great down there. And it also helped the new owner, HP, down there. He was able to get a little bit better view of his property. And we've also been doing some work at Sunset Park where we repaired some lights, and at the dog park and the tennis courts at Alexander. And we were doing some of our typical maintenance for the downtown and for the holiday season, and at City Hall, cleaning up the area there to make it look nice during holiday times. And of course, we did a big vine removal at North Beach Park. Now, some of those vines are still hanging on, but eventually in the next couple months, they'll die off and we'll be able to get rid of those vines. With that said, I'll throw it back to Candy.
Thank you, Brian. Sounds like you've been busy as usual. Cindy, let's move on to the program and special event update, please.
Sure. So as I mentioned in the last item, or when Andrew asked about the father-daughter dance, I mean, we're definitely, some of our events are happening, some of them aren't. So we're making some discriminating choices on what to have and what not to have, depending on the size of the event. So one of the things back in December, we did not have our normal father-daughter, or I'm sorry, not father-daughter, Breakfast with Santa event. So that's always been a popular event, but we did not feel we could have that this year. So instead, we did a new event called Candy Cane Flashlight Hunt. And this was Carly Allison's idea. She had seen it, another department had offered it, and we held it down the community center, which is a larger facility, and also a large portion of the event was outdoors. And so, Julie, you would have liked this because the kids went out with their flashlights and hunted for candy canes. It was just really got some great feedback on that. So it was a really popular event. So hopefully that's something we'll continue to do moving forward. And then, as I mentioned just a few days ago, we held the archery qualifying tournament. We had 227 archers, about 8 to 10 schools in that. We had a school coming from Arkansas. We had Sir Coxey. A lot of different schools have been coming to this event, Taneyville, for a lot of years. So really enjoy the archery event that was held. And coming up that we're already advertising for, I think I shared some of the flyers with you all. One of the things we're really focusing on is virtual esports. That was something we started to get involved with last spring. Scott McCauley, you might appreciate this, but it didn't really happen. And so we're moving forward. I think I included the flyers of esport tournaments for Madden and for Fortnite. So we're excited about, hopefully those will be successful events, and we'll be adding to our kind of repertoire to have those events. We're doing the mother-son event, as Andrew mentioned, and by the end of the month, we'll probably be, end of February, we'll be signing up for spring soccer. So it is a busy winter, a lot going on, and be happy to answer any questions about any of our programs or future events coming up.
Cindy, let me tell you real quick, I'm not very technically inept. Well, I am technically inept, as trying to fumble through this meeting has proved tonight. But I got to tell you something, these esports have picked up so much. I know for hearing from some of my work colleagues down in Harrison, they had some esports events down there that just exploded and were big successes for them. And I think this is something that is in our future, because this is very, very popular. It's caught on all across the country. And I think there's going to be some potential here with these type of tournaments.
That's great feedback, Scott. Thank you for saying that. And I mean, we're really determined to get that underway, and especially now in the world of COVID-19. As I mentioned, we're still receiving about 80% of our participant engagement, but there's 20% we're not. And so hopefully some of them will hop on board with the virtual sports.
Cindy, thank you for that report. Let's move on to members' reports, and I'm not sure how to have us start. Perhaps, Marcia, you could just do a roll call and we could respond that way, whether we have a report or not. Would that work?
That sounds fine to me.
Okay, I don't have one.
Okay, Julie Wolf?
Yes, I just had a question someone brought up to me. They've been going down to the senior center and having the like the free coffee and the free donuts. And they asked if that was supported by the park board. And I said I'd find out. I thought maybe it was the senior board or something that provides that. Am I wrong?
So Julie, we had kind of tasked Tracy with how do we still engage the senior population who can't come to lunch down there? And so I believe it was Tracy's idea to start these drive-through events, and she is getting them 100% paid for by sponsors. And so, yeah, she's got, and I can't remember, I don't know if you remember Marcia or Brian. I know she's advertising for one right now, but so if anyone gets a chance, that's a senior, you just get in your car and you drive down there. And so it's really an opportunity. It's really not so much about the treat. It's, I think a lot of the treat is seeing Tracy and Lisa, who are just wonderful leaders down there, and people getting to engage with them and doing that in a safe way. So, I mean, that's really part of it, is there have been a lot of people isolated during this time. So that was really our main task. But Tracy has reached out to sponsors, doing a great job. So it's not
great.
costing us anything.
Okay, I just wanted to, I didn't know the answer to their question, so thank you.
Yes, some of the sponsors have been hospice, the Phoenix Healthcare System, the Boy Scout Troop 290. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head. The one for February is Cookies and Milk, and they're going to actually bake the cookies outside.
Whoa.
Okay, so let's go to the next person, Scott McCauley.
Nothing for me tonight.
Andrew, I'm sorry, I lost your last name, Andrew. Andrew Brown, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have one question that was brought up, I want to say at last meeting. Somebody said the store down by the campground had been sold, and we were looking into doing propane. I was just wondering how that was coming along.
Yeah, so if you remember Brian's report, he had mentioned that Scotty's Trout Dock, there is a new, I believe he's actually leasing it, HP Wright, which is someone that I had known was one of our work campers years ago. So he has brought a lot of really excitement to Scotty's Trout Dock. And so they have decided to not offer propane. So that has opened the door for us as a revenue possibility. So we're working through that right now. And in lieu of that, Andrew, they're doing a food truck, and they're going to be doing some grilling, all kinds of different things, which I think will be a great asset for our folks staying at the park. Brian, did you have any additional comments on that?
I do not. You were spot on with what you said, Cindy.
Did that answer all your questions, Andrew? We're still working through being able to offer propane, but we're excited because this would be a new revenue possibility for us, and something that I think would be received really well.
It does, thank you.
Okay, so next would be Clark Harris.
Cindy, Brian, just kudos. No real questions for you, but my goodness, such an ambitious schedule I know coming up. And particularly, I'm always impressed with the professionalism dealing with the COVID situation. And now knowing, that the virus is changing and not so much more pathological, but more contagious. And they expect that particular variant to really become very popular very quick. And so the contagious thing is something it's so easy to get fatigued with all of this because we hear it all the time. But when we still lose 4,000 Americans every day, and we have visitors from all over the country come here, your ability to communicate to the people who come here and to model good behavior is so important. And I know it goes on all the time. You do such a great job with it. And so I just kudos to you for keeping it just exceptionally well done.
Clark, thank you for that encouragement. It is definitely a challenging situation, and the encouragement is appreciated, trying to make good choices. I know you're always so interested in, Brian mentioned the vines. I know you were part of taking the vines. We've been talking a lot to Amy in the last couple of days about some tree trimming and things going on. So I'll try to get her included in the next meeting to give an update.
Sure, that'd be great. That was a great experience down there. Brian was down, you came down, and those vines that you see creeping up, they're called winter creep, of course, and they stay bright green all the year long. Some of you probably have some growing up on your redbuds or your oaks or your hickories, and those definitely are not good for the tree or for the surrounding area, so they're pretty invasive. So anybody who had questions with that, you can always, of course, ask Amy Jackson. Because she's our expert with all that and does such a great job. So it's a continuing process dealing with invasive species, whether it's honeysuckle or any of that type of stuff is such a problem. So anyway, it was a good experience. We did a lot of good work down there, and I really appreciate it. I've been out to the trails multiple times, all of them basically, or most of them, and everything is just looking really good. And so kudos again to all the Jim and the crew for all the work that they do. It's really great.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Next would be Mr. Jamie Whitus.
I'll just follow up with Clark. Great job, Parks Department. The financials overall with what 2020 laid before us, I think the outcome was good considering all. Along with that, I think the city of Branson has fared well with everything going on. And just looking ahead to 2021, yeah, we're still going to have some challenges. But what we're doing in the parks with the trails, staying on top of that campground, I think we'll have a record year with the campground because the outdoor activities are going to be another big hit in 2021. And with the disc golf and all that other stuff, the improvements we're making down there, the pickleball courts, I think we've got some exciting things in front of us for 2021.
Okay, Madam Chairperson, that is the last person for your members' reports.
Thank you, Marcia. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
That was
Second.
Scott McCauley. And I'm sorry, please say your name second.
Clark Harris.
Okay. Marcia will call for the vote.
Okay, Andrew Brown,
Second. Or I,
Candy Sullinger,
Aye.
Julie Wolf,
Aye.
Clark Harris.
Aye.
Motion has carried.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Cindy and Brian, and thank all of you for attending. Have a good night.